this wasn't a feeling I'd wanted, but it was all I had for now. I didn't have Austin, and I'd given up the notion that I could be serious with a 20-something young man. I'd been down that road before, and I didn't think it would work. That was why I'd chosen Austin, because he was my age and mature enough not to play games with me and would not lie to me about simple childish things. Maybe Caden wasn't like that at all, and I'd painted him with a broad brush, but at my age and the amount of responsibilities I had, I needed to know who I was dealing with, and I thought even with Austin being missing in action, I had no reason to believe that he would lie to me or break our unwritten commitment to each other. I wasn't sure when I'd closed my eyes, but I did remember that it was imagining Caden's cute face lying in my arms. I later discovered that it was his image that brought on my restful night, coupled with me masturbating. Waking and feeling relieved that I didn't have to organize anything, because of the work I'd already put in by moving here, and taking care of my father's business with the house and his other properties, I would have a few days to myself and reunite with friends I hadn't seen in years. However, my motivation was clear. I wanted to see Caden one more time and sit and talk to him, and see where his head was. I knew I could depend on Cole to organize everything, especially since he saw himself as a social planner. He'd done that job as a hobby for his friends and people in this small community. Cole was all over the place since he'd settled down in Nevermore with his partner, Keys. Ask about a wedding and Cole's name would circle around town, and he was cheap, he worked just for the fun of it. Ask about a children's party, and Cole would organize it down to the clown and petting zoo. He had this perfect clown costume, and he wasn't giving it away or retiring it. He'd purchased it when he was in high school, because he wanted kids to have the enjoyment that had escaped him when he was a young boy. Cole loved to organize movie nights, and that worked for me. I had to reintroduce myself into the gay community of Nevermore, and Cole would be my intro into it. All I had to do was mention that I needed someone to coordinate movie night, and he'd fall into action by ordering the pizza, beer, and those frightful little sandwiches he liked to make, which no one enjoyed but him and Keys. I'd prefer grilled steak or chicken, but Cole was one of those health nuts, and he said that before the party got started, everyone would be asleep from grilled steaks, and that I wasn't good at grilling. Men would starve waiting to eat, and no one could fuck after a pound of beef in their bellies. Coming back to Nevermore, eating the kind of quick food I was used to, living in a city and sitting on my ass all the time scoffing down pizzas, had set me up for too much time in the gym with Cole. But he was a great friend, and since I'd been away, he'd found someone else to be a friend as well as a lover, his partner, Keys. It was good when your partner was also a friend. I wished I had that. Austin was too busy and was never around when I needed him, like now. If he'd been here, I would have never thought about that boy who had the cutest eyes and mouth, and his body was nothing to sneeze at. That pretty face and muscular body deserved a man's attention, and he'd got mine. After dressing and having a cup of black coffee, I called up Goodwill and notified the neighbors that they could come cart off some of the old furniture and lamps that I didn't want. Then I made a call to Cole once more to invite him over to lunch, which would consist of a beer and a sandwich I'd picked up at the nearest deli. "Hey, buddy. Are you going to have time for lunch with me?" My treat. "Sure. Do you want to drive to my store? I know this great mom-and-pop restaurant." I didn't want to drive anywhere or any place Cole would suggest. I would still be hungry at the end of the lunch. I still have things to do around here. That wasn't a lie. I probably needed to bring in a maid service to clean places I didn't want or have time for. "Can you make it over to my place? I've ordered something, and I'll pick it up. It's nothing but a sandwich, but I know you will like it." "I haven't forgotten what you like to eat," I said to Cole. "Sure. I'll be there at noon if that's good for you." "Great. See you then." After talking to Cole, I hopped into my SUV, then picked up our lunch, and made it back to the house in a few minutes. Had I let Cole choose the place for lunch, then we would be at one of those health food restaurants with the salads and salmon dishes. That would be fine, but there were none of those types of restaurants in the district near the ice cream shop where Caden worked, and that was the only place I wanted to go if it wasn't here at home. Cole rang the bell a few minutes before noon. When I opened the door, he was standing there with a large smile on his face. "Why are you so happy?" I inquired. "Because it's a beautiful day. Keys and I are buying a house together, and I'm alive. I could ask you the same thing. Come in and help me with the sandwiches and beer. We're going to sit outside and eat and watch the world, or this corner of the world. That will make me happy." I didn't know how content I'd be, coming back home to be with my friends, and seeing my father on a regular basis. We sauntered into the kitchen, and Cole reached for his sandwich and beer, and I got mine. We ended up on the front porch, the way it used to be when we were children. I glanced over at my parents' swing, but didn't dare sit in it. We were no longer children, and the town had changed, but not my street, aside from the fact that most of the elderly had died, or their children had moved back with theirs and were riding their bikes, walking their dogs, and doing what children did. Looking at the children playing, I sighed. "Were we ever that young?" Cole questioned. "We were young like that, but those were different times. Then, we couldn't admit that we loved someone of the same gender. Now we can," I added. "I feel free and happy here in this small town. I don't think I want to go back to a city, Cole." "Why do you have to?" He turned to me and questioned. "Because Austin is a city boy. He lives to dress in his expensive suits, drive expensive cars, and string you along." I raised an eyebrow. "I know you don't like when I talk like that, but you know deep down that I'm telling you the truth." It may have been the truth, but I wanted to believe the opposite. Change was hard, and I didn't want any complications this time in my life, so I chose to think the best of Austin. "I may know that some of the things you're saying are true, but he's not the small-town type. He loves going to museums, the opera, Broadway shows, jazz clubs, the way you love giving parties. It's just the way he is." "Then, what are you going to do? Are you going to give up your life for his life? You did once, and now it's time for him to make a sacrifice. Don't you want to get married, and have you talked about children? That's all you used to talk about when we were teens, Grayle." Me, I was going to be satisfied if I had a few dogs. They were going to be my children, and the children I'd make happy with my parties where I could play a clown. All I wanted to do was make them laugh and bring joy to their little faces. You wanted to be a father. Have you ever told Austin about your dreams? I bet I know what he'll do if you ever do. I think you're frightened of being alone. I'm not afraid of being alone. I'm not a twin. We come here alone, and that's the way we're going out. Now enough of this depressing shit, I barked. Drink your beer before it gets warm. I guzzled down mine, trying to forget the conversation. Cole took my suggestion, and after taking a small bite of his sandwich, he placed the beer to his lips and gulped it all down. Then he turned to me because he wasn't finished with this conversation. "What are you going to do about that young man?" "Who?" "Austin." "Austin was never young. You know who I'm talking about, especially not Austin, because there's nothing innocent and young about him. He acts as if he's never been a youth in his life. There's something about him that I don't like." "You don't like anyone I want. I know you want Caden Walker, but you won't admit that to me or yourself. Do you think I'm that stupid? I know why you're organizing a movie night. You were never the social type. You never followed the herd. The only way you met anyone is through me. I like people, and I don't think you do. That just isn't true. Everyone is different, Cole. If I didn't like people, then how did we meet? I don't remember, but it was probably me going up to you. You were a sad child, because you didn't have any siblings to play with, and because I didn't have any either, we became brothers of sort. You know that men seek out their kind. They know instinctively that they have something in common, and we did. You were gay, and so was I, but I was trying to hide it by dating girls, but you saw through me, Cole admitted. I see through you now. You're angling to find out if I like that young man. I'm not angling because I know you do. He's too young. And you're too old to be cutting yourself off from men because of age. If he's willing to give you a chance, then why don't you at least consider a date? Not a night out at your place with everyone around you. Because I made a commitment to Austin. I wonder if he feels the same way, Cole said with a chuckle. Are you willing to disrupt your life, go back to New York to be with him, and your obligations to your father? Stop right there, Cole. You've overstepped your bounds. I haven't begun to overstep my bounds with you, Grayle Meadows. Cole stood after drinking the last drop of his beer and wrapped his sandwich in the paper it came in and said, Thanks for lunch and I'll see you tonight. I hope you think about what I said. I stood and we embraced. I love you, bro. I love you too.